Hello everyone. Namaste, Vanakkam, Vandanam. BhalaKumar here from Chennai, and I'm an MBA graduate from IIM Bangalore. So I'm a sales and marketing professional, currently working with Smart Clean Technologies as a city lead. And I'm also a certified yoga instructor, and I love contributing to the wellness space. So here I am as a volunteer with Tava-Mitram, and I would like to extend a warm welcome to one and all who joined us for the session today. So before we kickstart our session today, I would like to quickly talk about what Tava-Mitram was all about. So Tava-Mitram is a not-for-profit initiative that aims at raising mental health awareness across the globe. So the idea took shape in 2015, and it was founded on 15th of June 2016, sorry, by Dr. Paras and Ekta. And we have a team of roughly about 50 members who are act as a Mitra coaches and volunteers who work towards on a mission in making people realize that the power to change lies within each and every one of us. And so this year, in the month of May 2020, so we launched a knowledge-based video series, My Mental Health, My Priority, that aims at spreading the knowledge of mental health awareness at no cost. So far, we have crossed 6,400 plus registrations as we speak, and the participation still continues. And on the occasion of World Mental Health Day, so we launched we announced the launch of Tava-Mitram in Hindi. So we'll keep you posted as we further progress on that front. And 10th October being the World Mental Health Day. So hence, in this month of October, Tava-Mitram is running a campaign called Mental Health Matters, which has a series of panel discussions. So today we will be having an interesting discussion on the topic mental health at workplace, celebrate togetherness and end stigma. So I take this opportunity to introduce the moderator for today's session, Dr. Paras. Yes.
Hi, good evening. Namaste.
Hi, Paras. Good evening. Namaste. So let me quickly introduce Dr. Paras. Dr. Paras is the co-founder of Tava-Mitram. He has over 16 plus years of experience in life, executive and leadership coaching, mentoring, and behavior training intervention. He ranks number 7 as a master certified coach in India at just the age of 33. And so he's founded Dr. Paras Wellness that deals with leadership training and coaching interventions. He conducts various certification programs like NLP, mindfulness practitioner, coach certification, hypnotherapy, psychotherapy, and counseling. And he has won several awards. And to name a few, he has won the Global Coach of the Year at EMCC Global Paris in June 2019, and Young Leader Award from ICF in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, USA in June 2018. Thank you so much, Paras, for joining us today. A very warm welcome to you.
Thank you. It's such an honor to be a part and to see so many panelists today on a very interesting topic about celebrating togetherness and end stigma, mental health at workplace. I'm super excited. Yes.
Same here, same here. Yes, and so let me introduce our first panel member for the discussion today. We have Shankar. Can we have Shankar on the screen, please?
Hi, Shankar.
Hi, Parth. Good evening, everyone.
Uh, is Shankar on the screen?
Yes, he is very much.
Okay. So Shankar is an executive coach with around 30 years of corporate experience in delivering global consulting and technology services, and he has lived and worked in India, Japan, UK, and US for NIT, Merrill Lynch, Lehman Brothers, and has held leadership positions in organizations like Commerce Bank, Accenture, and GEP. So he now works with consulting companies and startups as a coach and advisor. Thank you so much for joining us, Shankar, for today's session. A very warm welcome to you. Namaste.
Namaste, Bhala. Thank you very much. It's a pleasure to be here. I think this is a very important topic, so I'm looking forward to a very engaging discussion.
Thank you, Shankar.
And it gives me an immense pleasure to introduce the second panel member for today's discussion, Vinita.
Hi, Vinita. Good evening.
Good evening. Namaste to Paras and everyone.
Namaste, Vinita. Namaste. Good evening.
Namaste, Bala. Good evening.
Let me quickly introduce Vinita. So, Vinita is compassionate about facilitating beings to unlock their true potential and committed to empowering them through mentoring and coaching. Being FCMA, PCCIF, and an LLP practitioner, she has worked with different operational setups and she's celebrating almost 29th year of her techno commercial journey. She strongly believes in alignment between individual and organizational values for sustainable growth. So, hence, at the organizational level, she's facilitating leaders and executives to take on a bigger role, to transition to a new role, and enhancing their succession management efforts, improving the strategic thinking of leaders, and enhancing the executive presence. A very warm welcome to you, Vinita. Happy to have you on this panel today.
Thank you, Bala. It's my pleasure, and I'm very excited because this topic is very somewhere here.
Wow.
Thank you.
Yeah. And so let me introduce our next panel member, Bhanumathi.
Hi, Bhanumathi. Good evening.
Hi, good evening, Paris. Very
Namaste.
good evening. Hi, Bala. Good evening. Hi, Shankar. Hi, Vinita. Good evening.
Yeah. So, so Bhanumathi is a natural leader who drives HR operations with a focus on social impetus. She has over 2 decades of industry experience, leading teams, overseeing all aspects of human resource functions and processes. And in her current role as a senior manager HR at Tito Every, her responsibilities include employee engagement and execution of HR policies aligned with corporate strategy and clear focus on business objectives. So she's an active evangelist of mental health issues for women, and she has been vocal about many challenges women face in striving to achieve the right balance between family and career. Bhanumathi has been profiled on City Air News and Chandigarh City News for inspiring talks on women empowerment. Rotary Club Chandigarh has featured her for a virtual speaker session to inspire and empower women during this pandemic.
Thank you.
Thanks for joining us, Bhanumathi. Very warm welcome to you on this panel.
Thank you. It's my pleasure. Thank you.
And I take this opportunity to introduce our next panel member, Deki Chawla.
Hi, Deki. Good evening to you.
Good evening, Paris. Good evening,
Hi,
everyone.
Deki. Good evening. Namaste.
Thank you for having me here.
Yeah. So, Deki has about 19 years of work experience both in the corporate world as well as serial entrepreneur. She has co-founded India's premier loyalty technology company, Reward 360 Global Services Private Limited, with a presence in the Middle East and Southeast Asia as well. So she serves on the executive board of YPO, Young Presidents Organization, and with FICCI, a ladies organization, and on the Tibetan Entrepreneurship Development Hub. So she is presently pursuing to become a life coach. Thanks for joining us, Deki. A very warm welcome to you on this panel.
Thank you, Bala.
And yes, so let me introduce our next panel member, Shashikant. Uh, can we have Shashikant on the screen, please?
Hi, Shashikant. We can't hear you. You're in mute.
Hi, Para.
Hi, Shashikant.
Hello. Vanakkam, Bala. Vanakkam, everybody. Good evening.
Yeah. Let me quickly introduce Shashikant as well. So Shashikant is an HR leader with over 18 years of experience in BPO, BFSI, retail, automobile, and IT services, consulting, and startups, encompassing the HR strategy and HR business partnership, and overall employee life cycle from hire to retire among blue collars, white collars, and pink collar workforces. So she is the founder and convener of HR Sangam, a not-for-profit network to learn and network from amongst the HR community in Chennai, reaching over 9,000 plus professionals. She holds a degree in engineering and a master's in human resources. Thanks for joining us. Welcome to you.
Thank you once again, Bala. It's a pleasure being here, and I am absolutely honored and privileged to be a part of the cause and the efforts that Tava-Mitram is taking. Thank you very much.
Rafi. And yes, and let me introduce our final member, Amna.
Hi, Amna. Good evening. Namaste.
Namaste, Amna. So, Amna holds an MBA degree in Human Resources from Symbiosis Institute of Management Studies, and she comes with 9+ years of experience in HR with a strong exposure to learning, diversity, and talent management. So currently, she is working with L'Oreal, and she is an HR generalist at their Pune factory, as well as for the supply chain team. Besides her strong, relevant experience, Hamna comes across as a very upright, confident, with a lot of energy and commitment, and a strong drive to continuously set higher benchmarks and as a great team player. She has also demonstrated the ability to work with multiple stakeholders. Thanks for joining us, Amna. A very warm welcome to you for this panel discussion.
Thank you, Bala. Namaste again. And I am truly honored to be a part of this initiative.
Thank you so much. And yes, without further ado, I'd like to hand over the control to Dr. Paras to kickstart the discussion.
Thank you. Thank you, Bala, so much once again. And a warm welcome to everybody. So there is a lot of people who have been complimenting, welcoming everyone. So Ekta has said hi to everyone, while we have Suhas who is saying great to see Paras, Shankar, and Vinita in the panel. Great theme and topic and very relevant to us today. While Shalaka says hello to everyone, hello to Bala and everyone. So it looks like this is a great beginning to all of us. So warm welcome to all my panel members today. Also request each of the panel members to say a few lines before we move ahead with our discussion. Maybe I would like to start with Vinita, Amna, Shankar, and then Deki, Bhanumathi, and Shashikant moving forward. So over to you, Vinita.
Thank you, Paras, for this invitation to share about this topic. It's very close to my heart, as said in the beginning also. And prior to that, my gratitude to you and Tava-Mitram for setting up this wonderful platform so that we can open up, and this topic is really, really relevant and required. And as Bala has also mentioned, and I want to admit it, that I'm really, really passionate about business, execution, operations. It fascinates me. It fascinates me like anything. But equally, I'm compassionate about the people who governs the business, who execute the operation, who understand the pain, who take the responsibility, the toll of the responsibility. And that's the reason this topic is very close to my heart. I resonate each and every bit of this topic. Say, in the business dynamics, I often come across to so many crises, so many unexpected delays, stepping off unrealistic demands or timelines, and sometimes interestingly indulge in such a mission which others perceive as a totally difficult or impossible thing. And if I have to define the outcome or experience of all those incidences in one line, I would say togetherness always surpasses the technologics, the technical reasonings, technical timelines. Everything went off because of the togetherness in those tough situations. And trust me, the heartbeats of those moments easily dissolves all sorts of pain, restlessness, anxiety, stress, everything. So it's a small reflection that about my concern, my connect, and my commitment about the mental health at workplace and its importance, because I'm witnessed and I'm blessed enough to witness lots of such experience at my workplace with my clients where we have achieved together. I can write an epic on it. So let me hold myself over here and thank you. I'm very much excited to know and expand my perceptions, my knowledge regarding this field with lots of experts are being with me today in this panel. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Vinita, once again. Over to you, Amna.
For the wonderful show. I think my first love when it comes to work is learning, because I believe the more aware we become as individuals, the more we learn, we can respond to situations better. And that's about everything. However, while we are learning everything in the world, at times we only look at well-being as majorly physical well-being. We do hear people talk about all diets and all sorts of exercise regimens, but do really people want to talk about mental health? And I very correctly put, and the stigma. If you want to speak about something like an emotion that, maybe I'm not feeling good, how well is it received? I think that becomes very important. We all are aware there could be mental health issues, but can we break that chain somewhere and talk about it? Help people around us. We don't need to be, physicians and excelling in the specific field of therapy, but just saying, hey, can I help you? Is there something I can do? It's as little as that sometimes. So I think the awareness bit in everybody is very important, because machines will only deliver so much. People can help deliver anything and just everything possible if they are engaged and if they are motivated. And I think as business teams, we should be very careful of their complete well-being, not just one part of it. So that's where I come from. I'm so happy to be a part of the Tava-Mitram team. Yeah, so that's it for me.
Thank you, Amna. And I really resonate with what you said about machines can deliver numbers, but humans are with heart and they feel, and it's very important to acknowledge and also be focused on that. So thank you for bringing that. Shankar, over to you.
Sure. So typically, an average person spends 1/3 of their life in the workplace. That is a lot of time. But I think it's if you do the math, it probably adds up to almost 90,000 plus hours. That is a lot of time to spend in one place without feeling good about it, right? If I look back over my career, and thankfully I'm probably closer to that end of that 1/3 than the beginning of that 1/3, so I can look back as a little bit of reflection and see, some of my biggest, joys and some of my biggest fears, anxieties, times I was most stressed. You go back to the workplace for a lot of those moments and you think, how can I make that better, right? As you're doing a reflection, what could I have done differently? What could me as a person? What could my organization? What could I as a leader? How can I make that 1/3 of a person's life a very, very, a good experience? There will always be some natural stresses that come with work, deadlines, client pressures. All of that is fine, but those are external. How as an organization can we support our people who, all organizations claim that people are our biggest asset. We're very focused on people. And I think we need to recognize that the world around our people has evolved. We've moved away from the industrial to an information, to a data-driven age. And I think both the pressures and pulls on people are very, very different. So I think as we start talking about it, we name the issue. And as we name the issue, we look at ways to resolve those issues and make the world really what we're doing is trying to make the world a better place for people by focusing on certain things that we know are causing those kind of negative influences on people, but also look at this as an opportunity. How is the workplace an opportunity for me to make things better for people? So that's the conversation we need to have. Is while we recognize the issues, there's also a whole bunch of opportunities to make things a lot better.
I get a lot of sense of hope, and when you talk about the word opportunities, and I think we need to encash that in today's session and make sure people are taking something for themselves as well. Thank you, Shankar. Yes, Deki.
Thanks. I would first like to commend Dr. Parus, Ekta, and Team Tava-Mitram on launching this Mental Health Matters campaign, because a good mental health is most imperative and important, since it allows people to develop in many ways, emotionally, mentally, intellectually, and socially. I also believe that it also benefits the places where people live and work, leading to social development and economic growth. Having said that, no one experiences perfect mental health or well-being all of the time. So we all have to learn how to balance the different aspects of our lives. So when things in our life change, we have to re-establish the balance, right? So however, ongoing mental health problems can take a real toll on our well-being. Hence, it is imperative to wake up to the fact that mental health matters. A lot of us take care of our physical health to avoid sickness and, to kind of remain energetic. We may eat well, exercise, and try to get enough sleep to help maintain wellness. Similarly, we must take the same approach to mental health. Just as we work to keep our body healthy and our physical immunity up, it's really imperative that we must also work to keep our mind healthy and our mental immunity up as well.
Thank you, Deki. I think acknowledging and reinforcing mental health is so very important. And I remember one of the dialogues where it says that what is not visible, like mental health is not visible if you're feeling depressed, but if you're having a toothache or you're not able to walk properly, oh, then we need to go to a doctor quickly. But we do not give that much accounting for mental health. So thanks for acknowledging that point and bringing it and endorsing it. Thank you once again. And so, Shashikant.
First of all, it's thanks for giving meaning to our evening. It's so nice to be in elite company. Tava-Mitram has provided an opportunity for me to rub shoulders with some very good professionals here. And Dr. Paras, I just can't thank you enough for the kind of initiatives that you and the people at Tava-Mitram take. Honestly, I knew 10th of October was World Mental Health Day, and there were a slew of activities around, but I never knew that I would be part of something where I could create some awareness, discuss about it, and see how we could possibly contribute as we go forward. So, for nudging me from awareness to action, thank you, Dr. Paras and team. I really want to thank here. Well, in school, we were all taught in civics between the haves and the have-nots in the society. Poverty was supposed to be the prime focus, the below poverty line. How do you alleviate poverty? How do we ensure a fairer world for us from a financial perspective so that all sections of the society, including economically weaker sections, come up? And then as I kind of grew up, now I'm 40 today, so I'm just tracing from the 80s to now, that then the focus was on disability, and there was a whole revolution with it. Disability is to be called differently abled, and there was a whole lot of focus there. The society came together, and today we find a lot of initiatives. Much more needs to be done, but you know that there is some way that has been shown on how we could make our society more inclusive. In today's scenario, as we see, the have and the have not in the society is differentiated by somebody who has good mental health and somebody who's not as fortunate with that. So if I were to go back and rephrase, it's not just about roti, kapada or makan. It is roti, kapada, makan or manasid swasthya.
Absolutely.
Right? I think that is the opportunity for us going forward. Now, I always I'm fascinated by this saying, which I heard about 15 years back in a training program, where in a motivational program, somebody told me, hey, if you think I have an attitude problem, you probably have a perception problem. So what is normal to me need not be normal to the other person, or what is accepted as a norm it need not be the same. I think we are all getting into a comfort zone where we think what we do is normal. Try, if you are a right-hander, try picking up the pen and write with your left hand. You will know what normalcy is not all about. So from that perspective, I think if we could talk about inclusivity, if we could talk about that the world is for all and in equal measure, then I think we are setting the right foot towards good mental health and possibly a better world for not just us, but the forthcoming generations as well. On that note, I would want to set the premise and have the pleasure of not just speaking, but also listen to all the panel members here and to be moderated by Dr. Paras. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you so much once again, Shashikant. And let me check with Bhanumathi now.
Okay, good evening all. First and foremost, I would like to thank Ekta, Dr. Paras, and Tava-Mitram for extending this opportunity to me. Well, I would like to quote an quotation. It says, "The strongest people are not those who show strength in front of us, but those who win battles we know nothing about it." Having said this, the topic of mental health is very close to me because I was a victim of postpartum depression and I know the pain of it. Mental health is as important as physical health, and I'm trying my best to get the message out there. I have been active member in increasing awareness on mental health and also been vocal about the many challenges that women face in striving to achieve the right balance between family and career. I truly believe that starting conversations about mental health will not only empower us and educates, but it can save life. And thanks to Tava-Mitram for providing me a platform in my mission. Thank you.
Thank you so much once again. I just want to check, Vinita, are you able to see it? Yes, thank you. Yeah. So thank you so much, everyone. Let me open today's discussion as we are talking about the topic mental health at workplace, celebrate togetherness and end stigma. According to the World Health Organization, mental health problems are our biggest challenge of the century, with depression as a leading cause of disability and premature death. A recent WHO-led studies estimates that depression and anxiety disorders cost the global economy around 1 trillion USD dollars each year in lost productivity. Unemployment is a well-recognized risk for mental health, while returning to or getting work is protective. A negative working environment may lead to physical and mental health problems. Harmful use of substances like alcohol, absenteeism, and also loss of productivity. So, workplaces that promote mental health, mental well being, and support people with mental disorders are more likely to reduce absenteeism, increase productivity, and benefit from associated economic gains. So today I'm inviting open dialogues around how can we build a positive approach towards mental health at workplace. Let's erase the stigma and celebrate our oneness. So my panel members who are experts from different industries and of course my audience who have been with me with the Tava-Mitram journey for a very long time. Let's engage and speak openly. So request the audience to share your views in the comment section as we are moving ahead with the discussion. In case if you have any questions or queries, you wish any of the panel member to answer it, feel free to ask that. But before I could go ahead and ask any question to my panel member, I would like to engage with my audience with a question. And the question I have it for you is when you hear the word workplace, what is one word that comes to your mind? I repeat the word. When you hear the word workplace, what is one word that comes to your mind? Let us see what all answers do we get from people. As people are answering, I'm also going to be checking with my panel today. Maybe I want to talk to Vinita, Shankar, and Deki. What is the anticipated problems which are likely to be experienced in many organizations? So maybe I'd like to start with Vinita, Shankar, and Deki. Vinita, if you're speaking, you're on mute, maybe.
Thank you, Paras. And my views and observations coming towards the needs, because this pandemic has challenged the survival mechanism of organization and individuals. And I'm witnessing the Darwin's theory, the survival of fittest, not only from the perspective of physical immunity, but on account of mental immunity. I'm observing it as a reciprocal impact on physiological, psychological, and sociological needs. And it's a mix. It's a mix and influencing the need and motivation both together. And profoundly, if you will see, the existential needs and motivations are at higher stake. Because let's say organization exists, so do employees. And similarly, employees exist, so do organizations. And here, organizations are not specific to some size, volume, or what. It's from corporate to small scale units. Employees also, not for a specific cadre. All categories are encompasses in this influence. And I would prefer to share the reciprocal effect while I'm sharing my thoughts about it, just to test the water and giving you the flavor of how it is influencing. If you can, guys, let me share that because it will be. Uh, wait, just want to check. Are you getting any image on the screen? This is the system. This is the system that how from attachment we are moving towards the orientation and control, self-esteem, pleasure maximization, and it's a circle. The moment your attachments get impacted, your self-esteem is also get impacted. Any impact on orientation impacts your pleasure maximization. And to exemplify it, just check the belongingness of an employee within an organization in this current scenario where there is salary cut, layoff, long working hours, and a new approach of contractual engagement, retainerships. I see the challenge of loyalty and safety. And trust me, you cannot talk even about the trust. It's so deeply impacted. Look at the flip side of orientation and control. There is a need to prove myself. I need to be best. Hey boss, I can do everything. Let me document each and every conversation so that I can be recognized. Do you see? In the surface, a very deep negative internal competition is breathing. And I see it a threat to the team spirit of the organization. Anxiety and excitement to be part of each and every meeting. I should be noticeable as worthy person. It's a very, very fragile self-esteem, very fragile. And it's really a challenge to all white collar community people. Look at it, the work-life balance. In this current new normal, work from home has opened up the barriers of physical barriers, but mentally, still there is no room for to work within ease. And so-called what we say people pleasing trait is coming up as a new working pattern, and I diagnose it as a serious challenge or a threat to the negotiation skills among the group, among the individual, because no is a threat for them. It may be the negotiation for a new business, or even you have to say genuinely the required timeline for a project. You had controlled yourself. And whatever examples I'm sharing you, and I'm sure about it, the audience will also resonate with these examples in their surrounding. Somewhere we are interfering in the natural flow of working, natural flow of interaction, natural flow of our own, showing our own presence in the working environment. And I don't think there is a need to say Whenever we had interfered with the natural flow, we have never invited a sustainable growth. So it's very much important that we should pay attention to all these pros and cons and take care of the mental health. It's a joint effort from individual to system. It has to move. I would like to take pause over here and see what others' views comes on this, how good they resonate about it. Thank you.
Brilliant, brilliant, Vinita. Thank you so much for bringing that thought. So Deki, would you like to go next?
Thanks. Yeah. Thanks, Paris. So, in my viewpoint, workplaces are diverse in terms of size, type, or culture of the company. So, despite these differences, work remains an essential feature of most people's adult lives, since it has a personal, economic, and perhaps like a social value as such. And in these recent times, the nature of work has changed profoundly, and jobs are defined more by mental and emotional demands. Hence, I echo the viewpoints of Vinita. The current ongoing pandemic, economic recession, and its effects on the job market are adding to the problems in employment and the quality of life experienced by people with mental health problems and their families as well. In addition, I would also like to add some of the other anticipated problems or the stress that employees feel when there is an imbalance between effort and reward, time pressure, poor work-life balance, even at times bullying and harassment at work, and even organizational change as such. For example, in my own company presently, we have a dynamic new CEO, but his leadership style is very different. Hence, I can sense the challenges as a part of my workforce is facing while trying to adapt to his methods, catching up to his dexterity or agile speed as he pivots and scales the company to the next level. In parting, I would like to mention that there is extensive literature on the relationship between all aspects of working life and health, and a growing evidence that a positive and supportive psychosocial work environment is beneficial to employees in an occupational organization as such.
Thank you, Deki, so much once again. And I invite Shankar to also share his views on the same.
Sure. So I think Vinita and Deki have laid out a wonderful context at an individual level for how this impacts people, and how it manifests itself, and what needs to be done about it. I'm going to take a slightly sort of different view and look at it more from a corporate imperative, and typically leaving it, typically sort of trying to frame a business case, given that I've been a consultant most of my life, and try to say, what's the ROI, what's the imperative on this. We looked at some factors. I think, Paras, you laid out that there is a WHO study that basically says India stands to lose almost $1 trillion between now and 2030 in terms of productivity losses due to mental health issues. This is, I think, a very significant number. And if you look at the size of the workforce in India, which is compounding, year on year, I think this is a problem that's not going to get smaller unless we do something about it. You asked the question, what's the one word that comes to your mind when you think about workplace? Mine went immediately to stress. I guess that's a reflection of my career and probably how I needed to have done things a little differently. So, if you look at stress-related illnesses, I myself have had, physical manifestations of stress in terms of illnesses, etc. Whether it's back pain, whether it's whatever it is over a fairly lengthy period. So it has impacted me personally as well. So it's not something that I've been immune to. So I recognize, what it can do to people. Again, given that I had a fairly optimistic outlook at the beginning, I also see a lot of opportunity and a lot of joy. So I would like to make sure that it's balanced with that as the ultimate goal. And simple example, the UK, I'm just taking a very small country, loses almost 15 million work days a year because they measure it a little better there annually due to absence from work. And, that's a big number again. So there is a lot of business imperative to making sure that this is an issue that is dealt with. And there is a solution provided for this as a matter of corporate policy, as a matter of, we talked about wellness, we talked about how do we look at it as a company and recognizing this is something that needs to be done very quickly. Otherwise, this is only going to compound. Taking a look at, where we are today, and I'm just going to pick one, the youth in India. And if I take two different groups, there are two numbers that are fairly disturbing. In the recent pandemic, based on the International Labour Organization numbers, almost 41 lakh youth lost jobs, and these are primarily in the farm, construction, infrastructure, travel and hospitality sector. That's one, very disturbing number. So there is a very significant impact of this on, again, people's wellness, mental wellness and well-being, and physical wellness and well-being as well. The other number which sort of stood out for me was millennials today spend on an average, what traditionally is a 40-hour work week, they spend about 52 hours at work. And this is, challenging projects, job security, whether it's tight deadlines, performance management pressures driving them to want to do more. But whatever it is, there is a lot of stress that gets produced in the system. And that, people coming into work with that level of stress impacts their productivity and their ability to deliver value to the company, or their absence results in, again, loss of date. So I think, both recognizing the workplace as and where stress is created, but also where external stress, once it's brought in or sort of reflected in home, can have a significant impact on their bottom line. So I think I want to make sure we continue talking about the business imperative and look at what, as an organization, people need to do, what leadership needs to do, what they need to do for their people.
Thank you, Shankar, for again bringing another perspective and the importance. And I really like the way you're bringing a research and statistics and information to talk a little bit and reinforce about the same. Thank you so much once again. So moving on to the next question that I have for my panel is, what are the different kinds of training that organizations encourage for employees or even associates for mental health? I would like to invite here Shashikant, Bhanumathi, and Amna. So I would like maybe Shashikant, if you could like to share with us, and then.
Oh, sure. I think we first need to put in perspective what is the kind of mental health issue that you're facing. On record, there are about 200 recognized mental health disorders globally, right? And with the ever-changing world, with fear of missing out, with so much of technology, so much of changes happening, there's a lot of things that you have newer and newer ways in which you could be impacted mentally, right? Cyberbullying is something which is picking up. General trauma, depression, anxiety, post-trauma, stress disorders. With all these in the kitty, I think at the workplace, what you're trying to do is just scratch the surface, right? At best, corporate programs are aimed towards stress, burnout. Maybe there are counseling facilities that are available to help prevent suicide, to de-addict. But I think that's about it. If you ask me, I think there is a huge space that is waiting to be tapped in terms of how we can train. And how do we train? We can beautifully use technology and blend it with in-person training or classroom-led facilitations. I know for one that you have this, the Prevention of Sexual Harassment Act of 2013, mandated by the Government of India for every organization to follow, ensuring a fair, safe workplace for women. Now, as part of this law, every employer is mandated to train people, to create awareness, to set up a framework, to have a committee, to give enough empowerment to be able to take decisions. Now, it calls for a collective consensus to be able to build something similar to this in the space of mental health and wellness. So it's not just train, but also how do we create an ecosystem, right? Are we building a system where people are felt valued, people are allowed the freedom to be open, people have the capacity to be able to go and tell their counselors or their managers or their HR counterparts or the wellness experts as to what is it that we have. So I would look at it more than just training. The way forward, I see scope for NGO corporate partnerships, right? This is one space where the non-governmental organizations like Tava-Mitram can play a really, really super efficient role as I see it forward. And on that note, I would possibly pause and allow my panelists, fellow panelists, to share their perspectives as well.
Thanks, Shashikant. I think that was a very good points brought out by Shashikant. Adding to that, I would like to say that just like learning, mental health is not a destination, but a process. With increased isolation due to work from home, employees are facing challenges in work-life balance, which has resulted in increased stress levels. The most wanted and important health nowadays is mental health because others are a chain reaction connected to mental health. I'm sure most of you agree. So it is very important that organizations must invest in trainings related to mental well-being of employees. In our company, mental health has always been a key part of our holistic wellness approach, and we foster a culture in creating awareness about mental health through engaging discussions and professional counseling support. The Employee Assistance Program provides employees ability to connect with professional psychological counselors through virtual means. And this has been a norm in most of the companies these days. We also have several initiatives including fun and games programs which includes yoga and fitness sessions. Also, employees have access to doctors and we have tied with a lot of professionals for wellness talks virtually for all their employees. I believe every organization must invest their time and effort on mental well-being of their employees, which is need of the hour, not just during this pandemic, but henceforth. Because everyone can be a victim. Every organization must support mental health awareness and support one another. Thank you.
I think you're just bringing a very brilliant points about psychoeducation and importance of mental well-being. So thank you. Let me just check now what Amna has to bring in to us. Yeah. Over to you, Amna. Amna, are you on mute by any chance?
Okay. All right, sorry.
Yes.
So I think it's been a wonderful share, and I think everything is in cyclic form. So, some topics will take our focus at different points in time. At some point in time, we were looking at harassment only as sexual harassment. At some point in time, we were only looking at health when it came to physical well-being. I think there's not just one type of training or solution that we need to provide as an organization. It's not a one size fits all. And it's very important that we try to cater to the needs as our customer is. So I think when it comes to mental health and such well-being sessions, people are insecure about talking about it. They don't want to get identified that, hey, I am facing a situation where I'm unable to manage, and there are reasons why I want help. How many of us therapy sessions would be all gung-ho about sharing with everybody and put a Facebook post saying that, hey, I'm going to therapy sessions and they've been wonderful? On the contrary, going to a gym and being on a diet is all, something that people think that, oh, great, it adds to my, persona. So I think from that perspective, we need to go in groups. We need to have focus group discussions, make people aware. We need to use the right blend of online and offline versions, where we have these resources where people look at what is mental health all about. I think the My Mental Health, My Priority is one such amazing resource which all organizations should use. It simplifies the entire content. And of course, at L'Oreal, we believe in the whole well-being of the organization and our people. So we have of which mental health is an independent pillar. And besides an employee assistance program where people can directly speak to professional counselors with all confidentiality. So we would never go and ask who has reached out to some people, so that they have the freedom and the confidence to go and share any problem and get professional help in certain situations. We have recently introduced a chatbot. Earlier, probably we had that proximity in being of being in the same physical workspace. So probably it was easier to conduct some sessions and take it that way. Now we have a chatbot. You just need to send a smiley with a low face, and the chatbot will start figuring out what's the problem. Do you feel low? What makes you happy? So that's an instant thing that people can reach out to without notifying, without having to talk too much about it. A lot of people don't want to talk again and again about the situation. So it's very helpful. It's available 24/7, any point of the day and night. So I think it's a blended approach, and all organizations need to see how they can reach the complete audience, not just a small section of their employees. That's very important when we are looking at mental health priorities.
I think that was a very fabulous point, Amna, for bringing it. And I think I really like the board that you shared, and it's how a machine can help us out to explore what is going on, and then at least remind us or acknowledge and bring the awareness and raise the awareness. I think it's a fabulous point. Thank you so much once again. So moving on to the next question for the panel, but before that, I want to check in with you all if there are any questions for my panel members. Also, wherever you are, just check it out. How are you feeling at this moment, watching, listening to very importance of mental health at workplace? So any thought, anything that you have, feel free to put yourself in the chat box, your message, and we'll be able to answer that for you. So my next question to my panel is, how important is stakeholders undergoing any sort of mental health program? Sorry, but I think this is a very critical question, that how important is for stakeholders undergoing any sort of mental health program. I may like to invite Vinita, Deki, and Shashikant here. Vinita, Deki, and Shashikant. Please share your thoughts. So I would like to start with Vinita, moving to Deki, and then Shashikant.
I don't know how much appropriate it is that to put out the proverb that charity begins from the home. And this is the case that the entire organization, where the stakeholders, who are actually the policymakers, who are the people who thinks of about the core values, ethics, mission, and their ambitions is being translated by the entire team. So it is very important that those stakeholders are aware of the EI aspect, emotional intelligence aspect of their own self, also about the team and about the system also. So on that regard, I advocate thoroughly about that these stakeholders must have gone through such sort of training, because then only the learning will impart into the entire system. And I will love to hear more about this topic from the rest of my panelists.
Sure. Thank you. Over to you, Deki.
Like you mentioned, Paris, this is indeed a critical question. We're all presently living through a VUCA situation. So therefore, mental health problems have become one of the leading causes of, say, absenteeism from work, early retirement, etc., all over the globe, right? So poor mental health at the workplace have serious effects not only for the individuals but also for the productivity and competitiveness of businesses, and thus the economy and society as a whole. Therefore, stakeholders or leaders at the workplace have woken up to this fact, and hence they play a big role in creating the type of environment that promotes mental and emotional well-being, and in making it safe to discuss this topic in the workplace. In the minds of many, mental health issues are associated with weakness, and the stigma of being labeled mentally ill is often as big a burden as the condition itself. So great leaders who want to reduce the stigma can set the work culture by sharing their own stories of struggles, by being courageous enough to open up about their own ordeals, their stories, etc. Then henceforth they'll make it safer and comfortable for others to share their stories as well. Another point is, good mental health is important for everyone, as we all know. However, leaders play an important role in safeguarding the mental health of people in the workplace. Leaders control the flow of work and set the goals and expectations that others need to live up to. Sometimes there are unrealistic expectations, excessive workloads, and tight deadlines increase stress and force people to work longer, often for no reward. In other words, leaders can set the tone for good mental health in the workplace. However, many are put into leadership roles without having any training on how to actually lead. There can be an emotional cost to leadership that can impact their own mental health as well as the mental health of those they lead or manage and support. Thus, proper trainings or coaching sessions starting with the leadership team is most imperative to ensure that there is a culture of empathy within the organization. It is proven that good mental health of leaders helps them to be more insightful, observant, and empathetic. Such leaders will be, of course, able to respond to situations and adjust their approach. And this positive approach then cascades down to the workforce and has a great impact on the business as well. If I take my own example, I'm the co-founder of my company, Reward 360. And instead of only focusing on business development, etc., my priority now is to ensure a coaching culture within my organization. Thus, I'm undergoing an intensive course to be certified as a professional coach from the International Coaching Federation. And I'm happy to share that Dr. Paris here is my trainer and mentor. Thus, in parting, I strongly believe that stakeholders need to go through mental health programs for the benefit of the company at large.
So thank you so much once again, Deki. What I'm also learning, it's not just for me, but it's for my company. It's for my people. That's a brilliant and very, very important message. Thank you. Over to you, Shashikant.
Sure. Stakeholders, people at the top, leaders are no longer called leaders. They are practically influencers. People at a position who have the capacity to influence people en masse across the organization. That makes them responsible. Now, who is this influencer? Here is somebody who scaled up the ranks, worked his way up to the top, and is now bestowed with the responsibility of shepherding an organization towards the intended profitability and other financial objectives. Now, what it puts them in a position is, as you grow, as you reach that place, you need to win at all costs. Now, the trade-off is you become more tighter, you become more rigid. The need for the R for a stakeholder is to allow a deal of vulnerability. Can I allow myself to think that, yes, I am human and I am susceptible to any emotion or mental issues that I may face as much as any other person in my organization? I am subjected to practically more wear and tear than my foot soldier in the organization. So with that in perspective, I would generally ask my senior colleagues in my past and present organizations that, okay, how often do you send your car for maintenance, for a service? How often do you get your two-wheeler service? And how often do you go for a master physical health checkup? And when was the last time you drained all the emotional baggage you have in your mind? And the answer is a big zero. So I think influencers will have to lead by example. To further bolster this, a case in point is that for every $1 investment towards wellness and mental health improvement, we get $4 of return on investment. So that's a huge case in point from a productivity perspective if the financial pundits are watching, right? And I think by and large, we must acknowledge the fact that whether it is my employee or my leadership, mental health or the lack of quality mental health is a blind spot.
True.
That's something that we need to be aware of. So I would want to start from the top. I would like to have a top-down approach where typically influencers go through mental health programs and then see the benefit of it and then reap it and extend it to the larger organizations. I see that as an imperative and the way forward.
That's such a brilliant premise you're building. First of all, is the value of the importance of mental health with the ROI. So people who are the leaders or business tycoons are watching this particular thing. You're creating an awareness that how important is it to go and have your own maintenance check. And I think at regular intervals, if mental checks are done, it really empowers and transforms not only you from what Deki and Vinita brought in, it's also transforming different people, the generation as a whole, just not a company. So brilliant point. Thank you so much once again. So let me check if there are any questions from the audience before I proceed further. Let me check. Okay. I get a reply from a person here stating that Shashikant, I like your sense of humor. You're bringing a lot of awareness, at the same time a lot of making things simpler. And again, Vinita, it has come as that your simplification is so mindful. So great. And Ekta brings sharing here that Deki, you're sharing it not just the business perspective, but the importance of coaching and coaching culture in an organization, which itself endorses a lot of mental health and choice. So thank you so much, three of you. So let me ask the next question to my panelists. That is, how do we identify the need of mental health in organization? I think this is something which is under the carpet, never visible. So how do we really identify there's a need of mental health in the organization? And how are you all planning to cater to it? What are your thoughts about it? I want to bring your Amna, Bhanumathi, and Shashikant. So I'll start with Amna, then we'll go with Bhanumathi, and also invite Shashikant again back. Yeah.
Sure.
Okay. Over to you, Amna.
Thank you, Paris. I will answer this in two parts. In my perspective, Paris, I think we don't need to wait for the need of a specific session, like, we need to work on mental health, which basically means we are already in a reactive mode as organizations. All of us have some mandatory trainings when people join us. I think that's the place, and regularly, maybe, with virtual formats or whatever works for an organization, we should keep educating, sensitizing, and making our team members aware as a mandate that yes, in case of any issue, feel free to reach out to us, trust us, and we are with you at all times. I think one part is that this should be like a must-have in most organizations, all organizations, I would rather say. On the other hand, the second part of it, if we really have to identify when and what are the kind of needs that we have, I'd like you to imagine for a second that, suppose we are working in an organization with someone, and maybe you have or you haven't noticed that someone is feeling dull, and the next day you get to hear the person has committed a suicide. Just imagine that scenario. What would be the impact that it would create on any coworker? You may or may not be in the same team. You may or may not have worked very closely with a person, but hey, this is somebody who was in the organization, and you're aware of the existence of such an individual who suddenly vanished in such a sad manner. Why is it that he or she could not reach out to even one person? I think sensitization needs to start at all levels, where each one take care of each other. HR, business leaders cannot be checking with people all the time and maybe closely monitoring most of our people. But I think as team members, as co-workers, or people sitting in the same bay, or maybe working on the same team meeting, we are the ambassadors to reach out to people and say, can I help you with something? We can easily look at behaviors. We can easily see the change in responses from a co-worker that, this is not a pattern that an XYZ person responds. Why do we not take that 1 minute? Yes, we all have our objectives to drive, but can we just take that 1 minute and say, hey, we'll come to work, but work? Is there some way I can help? Support in that team meeting, that kind of ecosystem is the ideal situation to happen for any organization. So we know that someone is watching your back all the time. I think that's something very important. And besides that, uh, other things, like we read so much in the industry what's happening. What is the change that is happening in the business? Is there a crisis that the organization is in? Right now, we are all in the pandemic and we are all talking actively about mental health in most organizations. Just think about the January of 2020. How many people were so active around mental health? I think I do see a sizable increase in the number of people who are now talking about mental health because we are all in it together. So, from industry research to reports that come to us, and I think the insurance costs that come to the organization, mental health will somewhere impact the physical health of a person. There research which says that 32% of people who have self-related issues will end up having cancer more than anyone else. That's so we have so many various kinds of numbers and number of reports to read. Why is it that we cannot look at all of this and be proactive about it? So there's so much already there. We are experiencing most of it. So I think it has to be a blend and what stage the organization is in. So that's very important to me.
Yeah, thanks. Thank you so much. Yeah. So I'd like to bring Shashikant here. Shashikant, what are your thoughts?
Oh, sure. Now, again, let me set the context here. All these days, humans were made to work like robots, slogging. Today, robots are being made to work like humans, right? So we are talking possibly of a future where your colleague could be a robot, and a robot that doesn't believe in a tea break, that doesn't believe in a cigarette break, that doesn't believe in having team lunches. So where are we going to go and share our emotions with? Where is it that we will find an outlet to be able to make our workspace meaningful? So from that perspective, it's absolutely necessary that your work ambience is given the right proportion of enablement towards mental health. Even the color pattern in your office workspace has an effect on how it is, right? On how your mental health plays. Your style of manager, you may want to keep a check on what is the style that your managers, your mid managers, your senior leaders do, your first time managers exhibit. Whenever there is a feeling of low control over one's work, there has been a tendency towards moving towards being alone, moving towards depression, right? You feel helpless, right? So as a HR guy, I would always want to strive towards ensuring I give fulfilling job descriptions for people, giving them the space to contribute, learn, and grow. Give a system where there is a fantastic workspace to work from, and also good managers who lead with the right dose of culture. I may also want to keep an eye on the diversity quotient. Do I have good diversity, or are we looking at a homogeneous mix of people coming in and going out every day to work? Right? We must also understand that how do we identify? We talk about employee satisfaction surveys. I think it's also time to look at happiness quotients. We talk about intelligence quotient, emotional quotient. Why not happiness quotient? Right? If there is somebody who's not opening up in a meeting, you may want to understand, okay, is there something wrong with him? Is there somebody who's becoming too lonely, preferring solitude? Okay, is there something wrong? Can I go and offer help? I think as a company, if we open it up beyond HR and have mental health wellness champions across the floor who do this vigilant work of understanding what's around, then I think we have fire safety wardens in our workplace. Let me tell you, we have first aid champions in our workplace. We have road safety champions. Why not mental health champions? I think that is something I would propose at this juncture.
That was so brilliant. That was very, very powerful and informative. So I just would like to now check with Bhanumathi. What would she like to bring in for us?
Okay, that was a very nice point brought out by Shashikant. Like, while organizations have employee satisfaction survey, it is also very important to have happiness survey. Well, I think I definitely like to go with that. Okay, so I believe employees are assets of an organization. Okay, having said that, approaching workplace issues in terms of intended outcomes and solutions rather than as a problem can improve both psychological safety and organizational success. One of the main problem that employees face is the burnout, and it is one of the most common problems faced by the employees in the organization. While not considered a mental illness, but burnout can be considered as a mental health issue. So, why does a burnout happen? Burnout is more likely to happen when employees expect too much of themselves, feel inadequate or incompetent, feel unappreciated for the work efforts, and have unreasonable demands placed upon them. Because burnout is a chronic in nature, which affects both the health and performance of the employees at all levels of the organization. So it is very important to engage with the employees. Okay, because as I told you, employees are the greatest assets of an organization. Okay, so more than anything else, what is very, very important is a frequent engaging and connect with the employees, because the more you connect, the more you can resolve the issues that the employees are facing. Also, help the employee identify workplace stress, not just identify, collaborate with solutions and support employees' requests, and very importantly, clarify the expectations. So clarifying expectations is a very, very important thing. Once you know this is what you're expecting, that eases the employee. And as a manager, I think every manager plays a very important role to have a frequent connect with the employees. And whenever you notice that something is not okay, okay, and you have to tell them to the employees saying that if you're not feeling okay, it is okay to say I'm not okay. Okay, if you can build that rapport, I think most of the issues will be resolved, is what I would like to say. Thank you.
Thank you so much once again. So I have a very interesting question for Shankar and Deki, and also Vinita. So first of all, I would like to thank you, all three of them, for bringing this space and supporting us. There is a question from the audience specifically for two of them, and I would like to just add a third as well. So thank you once again. I'm just bringing the rest of the team on the panel. So the question is, what is the need of mindfulness and emotional intelligence rising now? I would like to invite Vinita, Deki, and Shankar here. So maybe I would like to start with Vinita, then Shankar, and then Deki. It's my favorite question too.
Yes, it's all-time favorite for all the coaches also. And let me set the context here. Uh, see, uh, one cannot be emotionally intelligent without mindfulness. I consider mindfulness as a powerful tool that create a space between an action and your reaction. It works as a pause button where one can have a time to reflect back or check back as an awareness about the emotions, what's coming up, and able to choose the appropriate action or way how to manage that emotion. This is what all about in my terminologies as an emotional intelligence. And right now, what we all are talking here, we all are talking here as an imbalance. We are talking about there's an imbalance. Normally it's an imbalance, and in during this pandemic is an hyper imbalance of emotional and mental level. And what we note, we need simply a pause where one can be aware of what's going on. And we didn't get time. We are not trained even actually to give a pause, just to say ourselves, okay, just wait, just take rest, just check with yourself that how much permission you give to your own self to take, okay, let's take a break now. So that's why it's very important. And for more details, I further we go on a detail, I want to simplify with some examples that from where this need has arises. And it may be interesting for audience also when they listen all those examples. Say, for example, uh, I often heard that I cannot work in this situation, in this pressure. I want to quit. It's this particular number is very low. The progress of production is very low. We cannot face the meeting. You need to push hard. Like, how must I motivate more when there is no opportunity to reward? What is happening in all these examples? We are just observing an action and reacting. There is no midway button. So, mindfulness is that pause button which serves you to think, and emotional intelligence is a replay button to check your emotional awareness, application, and the appropriateness what you are going to handle it. It brings empathy into the system, which we are talking about, that how the system has to flow. So I think it will give a good lead to my fellow members to talk upon.
I could feel the pause right now within me. So that was
Thank
brilliant,
you.
Vinita. I think
Thank you.
very utmost important part that we are bringing in of raising the awareness of emotional intelligence and being mindful. Shankar, what are your thoughts on the same?
I think the pause and replay button analogy was spot on. I think that really brings it to life in terms of how these two complementary, capabilities, and I'll call them capabilities because it's not that these are two things that people are inherently, equipped with, and some people are probably better equipped than others, but these are capabilities and skills that need to be developed in your people. Right, and this is not just a management thing, or this is not only for my managers. This is also for my peers. I could be a newest entrant into an organization, and I would like, and I relate more to my peers than I do to somebody who's probably 3-4 levels up in a hierarchy. So I think as an organization, these are capabilities that need to be developed. These need to be recognized as skills you need to teach people, and you need to have a systemic way to inculcate both of these within your people, right? And there's multiple training avenues. You have coaching, you have training, you have, multiple avenues as an organization to deploy the tools that you need to build these capabilities within your people. So I do think that this is something that's critical in an organization, to be able to recognize, because a lot of the times, mental health issues, you see the symptoms, you see the anxiety, you see the impact on work, you see the productivity, but to recognize that there's something behind them needs that level of mindfulness and EI to be able to go and ask that next level of question, to ask and listen without judging. I think that's really the mindfulness and EI, to be able to say, let's talk and not offer advice, not try to offer solutions, and just be there to just listen. And I think that's really how it needs to manifest itself on the floor, where you can go up to your colleague and say, you look disturbed during that time, or you seemed a bit stressed. What's going on? And then again, silence from your side. Now, obviously, as you become a coach, you learn these, you're trained and taught on how to do these. But I think it's important for organizations to pick up parts of these and inculcate these within their people.
Yeah, I absolutely believe that listening is so very important, and reaching out to people. Thanks so much once again, Shankar. How about you, Deki? This topic is very close to you as well. I know.
Absolutely, Paris. This is a topic very, very close to my heart. As I'm a Tibetan and raised as a Buddhist from forever. So to begin with, I would like to actually narrate a short story told by the Buddha himself to his disciples, and one that I've heard from my parents. So may I just tell a short story to begin with? So
stories are good to go with.
Okay, thanks. So there was once a pair of acrobats. The teacher was a poor widower, and the student was a young girl by the name of Meena. These acrobats performed each day on the streets in order to earn enough money to eat. Their act consisted of the teacher balancing a tall bamboo pole on his head while the little girl climbed slowly to the top. Once on the top, she remained there while the teacher walked along the ground. Both performers had to maintain complete focus and balance in order to prevent any injury from occurring and to complete the performance. One day, the teacher said to the pupil, listen, Meena, I will watch you and you watch me so that we can help each other maintain concentration and balance and prevent an accident. then we'll surely earn enough to eat. But the little girl was very wise. She answered, um, Dear Master, I think it would be better for each of us to watch ourselves. To look after oneself means to look after both of us. That way, I'm sure we will avoid any accidents and earn enough to eat. So, what do we understand from here? This story is meant to illustrate that by being mindful and taking care of yourself is the most important thing you can do to take care of others. By learning how to nourish your mind and body, you'll naturally begin to treat those around you with much more compassion, love, and kindness, and create a more positive impact on the world around you as a whole. Taking care of yourself equals taking care of others in a spiritual sense, not in a material way, where I buy myself things or retail therapy kind of sense. So specifically by taking care of yourself, this refers to mindfulness. By taking care of others, by showing them compassion and loving kindness, we take care of ourselves. Now, coming back to mindfulness and emotional intelligence at the workplace, given that stress is a reality in many people's working lives, I think mindfulness and emotional intelligence can be an effective tool to buffer its negative effects. And ideally, mindfulness may even help change workplaces for the better. Research suggests that mindfulness training helps make people much more compassionate and empathetic towards others. By improving the way people relate to one another, ideally can also change the corporate culture for the better, creating a more supportive, friendlier workplace, and thereby better relationships as well. So
Thank
that
you.
makes sense.
Thank you so much for the wonderful story, and it really resonates a lot more. And I really like the way you're bringing the need of emotional intelligence. I also have some points which I really couldn't stop myself, but I'll be very mindful about the times that we have. But just on a very foundational thing, what I could conquer for myself is about having congruency in your thinking, in your feelings and actions. And I think the permission to feel is very, very important for all the genders, and being mindful about our emotions. How do we resonate? Otherwise, it just goes very transactional, brainy conversation. So I'm going to just make an attempt to make everybody watch a very short video, which is about it's okay to be not okay. So raising the awareness of mindfulness and emotional intelligence. I'm going to try my best if I'm able to share the screen, and you're going to let me know if you're able to see the screen. So there we go, and I'm just going to close. So thank you all for watching this video. And I'm just mindful about the time, but I have a last question before to the panelists. And the question is, how is the need of systemic learning emerging from this conversation? So I would like to request Vinita, Shankar, and Bhanumathi to support us. Shankar, Vinita, and Bhanumathi.
Sure.
So Shankar, would you like to go ahead?
Sure. So I think what's sort of emerging across this call, I think we've established the imperative, the benefits of having good mental health amongst the people in the workplace. Business imperative of why companies should pay attention to it. You spend $1, you get $4 back. So there is enough of a ROI argument also that has been made as to why companies to do it. Now it's really the how. I think that's where the idea of the systemic training and building this, when we talked about EI and mindfulness, we said it's a capability, it's a skill that needs to be developed. And that's where I think an organization needs to step back and say, now I have a lot of things I'm doing for my people when it comes to their physical safety. How do I now focus on for their psychological safety and treat it as, an element of psychological safety to say, where do I start with from my policies as I'm an organization going through my training needs identification? What do I need to do at each level within my organization? Because this is not just a top-down, as I said, it's not a management thing. It needs to be impacting everybody on the ground. And I think as the courses are being designed, one thing I always do as part of my teams is I have a CFO, a chief fun officer, as an example of somebody who is, who's the mascot and who brings the energy to the workplace and brings that level of positivity. So it's the policies that an organization has, whether it's an employee assistance program, whether it's a complaints committee, whether it's something that HR has as a connect with people, whether managers connect with people, whether it's training programs that are specifically designed towards improving EI and mindfulness and other elements of being able to recognize. And there's also an element of company culture to be able to have that conversation and to remove some of the stigma associated with saying, I'm not okay.
True.
Right? That's where I think the company needs to take a holistic view of policy, training, culture, to be able to say, how am I going to positively impact the mental health of my people? So when they're in the office, it's either having conversations about work that are relevant to work or having conversations that improve their general positivity and outlook and not have anything around them or minimize things around them which can cause that negative impact and have an impact on their psychological health.
Yeah, I really like that term, Chief Happiness Officer. Really makes sense. Yeah, and Cheryl also spoke about pause to heighten our awareness. Such a beautiful insight, Vinita. So, and there is another comment for you, Shankar. Very well said for the Chief Happiness Officer. Thank you. Yes, over to you, Bhanumathi.
Okay, Paris, I would like to talk from an individual point of view. Okay, so it is said that research shows that learning new skills can also improve mental well-being by boosting self-confidence and raising self-esteem, helping you build a sense of purpose and helping you to connect with others. Even if you feel like you do not have enough time or you may not need to learn new things, there are a lot of different ways to bring learning into your life. Also, I feel it is very important to boost your self esteem. You need to identify the negative beliefs you have about yourself, then challenge them. One other important thing is recognize what you're good at. We all are good at something, whether it could be cooking, singing, or doing some puzzles or being a friend. So we need to tend to enjoy doing things that we are good at, which can help boost your mood, in turn help your mental well-being. Also build positive relations. If you find certain people tend to bring you down, try to spend less time with them or tell them how you feel about the words or action. So trying to build a relationship with people who are positive and who appreciate you plays a very important role. Above all, I think it's very important to be kind to yourself. Means being gentle to yourself at times when you feel like being self-critical. Think what you have said to a friend in a similar situation. We often give far better advice to others than to ourselves. So these are the things, very key learnings from this conversation is what I could understand. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Bhanumathi. How about you, Vinita?
I would like to little bit elaborate in respect to the question what you asked, Paras, that what is the need of systemic learning emerging out of this conversation, as Shankar has explained that what is and how is the process is. And again, to emphasize on the point of need, there are so many things which we need to understand what is the system is all about. Why we say that it is important that system need to be trained for mental health, and reason behind is that the coexistence which I shared in the beginning of the conversation also, it's a coexistence. And right now for a change I want to call organization or a company also as a person. Even the company law also give them the status of a person. And if an human being, an individual, we identify with the values, beliefs, and say these are the points which goes or comes through their mental processes, their mental thinking processes involved in that. So I think audience and my panelists also will get agree to the point that for an organization also, whom we are considering now as a system, requires all these things, values, beliefs, and this is the mental process of that organization, which people design. And it's not, if you are working only on an individual person, you are not going to strengthen the wholesome mind which you are creating together. When I say, let me give one more example over here. Suppose an organization saying, my core value is trust, respect, integrity, and teamwork. So these are the four values this individual has created as a system for them. So entire business practices, business ethics need to govern by this. Same way, the mental level, mental strength, mental immunity is to be raised in that manner. It's like a nourishment that you are going to give to an individual and to the system as a whole. So I think we are running short of time over here, but it's suffice to conclude that system is very important because people need environment to reflect back their mental
True.
strengths, mental requirements. So if you are not creating the environment, so where they are going to reflect it. So it's important to bring synergy to entire process to do complete vaccination, and the complete vaccination happens when the system will get acquainted with mental health learnings.
I
Thank you.
think you're raising the awareness just not about me, but it's about we. It's about the community
Yes.
at large rather than just about self. So thank you. Thanks so much, Vinita, once again. So I think I would like to conclude this topic today with such a brilliant panelist who really shared their thoughts. Maybe what's coming out loud for me is there is a need for addressing the rising need of mental health amongst employees, stakeholders. It's imperative for organizations post pandemic to be extra sensitive in educating people at all levels on psychoeducation so that people can be more mindful, emotionally resilient, think of voicing out over giving it up. So the video that I've just shared the link with everybody says that it's okay to take that, to say that I'm not okay. It's okay to take that call for your colleague, for your friend, and say I'm with you. I would like to finally quote a beautiful words that I felt this morning was really hard for me. Place your hand over your heart. Can you feel it? That is called purpose. You're alive for a reason. So don't ever give up. So maybe now I would like to invite all the panelists and help and please request everybody to share their concluding statement for this topic. I'd like to start with Shashikant, then Shankar, Deki, Amna, Bhanumathi, and Vinita.
Thank you, Paras. Just didn't realize that we are closing in and it's time. I think it's clearly a need for us as a community in the corporate space to be able to move from standardization to customization. How do
Sure.
we attend to every employee? I think somewhere we got disillusioned by this mad rat race where we start addressing people as workforce, manpower, and things like that. If we could look at customization and treat every employee as an asset and how each person's needs, thoughts, feelings would differ from one another, I think we will be able to build a greater culture of empathy and trust, and also allow ourselves to be responsible than being regretful. On that note, my parting message here is thanks for this initiative. May good things happen to all the human beings on this world. As they say, Loka Samasta Sukhino Bhavantu.
Brilliant. Thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you, Shashikant. Shankar?
But I'd like to end with, on a note of hope and optimism, which is what I began with, and quote lyrics of one of my favorite songs, "Stand by Me" by Benny King. When the night has come and the way is dark, and the moon is the only light you see, I won't be afraid. I won't be afraid. Not as long as you stand by me.
Wow. Brilliant. Brilliant. Thank you. Deki?
In my conclusion, I would like to refer to one of my favorite go-to books, The Ikigai. People who discover their Ikigai or purpose in life have everything they need for a long, purposeful and a fulfilling life. So, and one of the most important rules the book mentions is to surround ourselves with good friends and relations. This is also similar to Ubuntu, I think I'm pronouncing it right, hopefully, an African principle which states, I am because we are, which means we are all connected and we cannot be ourselves without community, and that an individual's well-being is caught up with the well-being of others. So thank you for having me here, Paris and Ekta, and thank you everyone. Wishing you all a happy life ahead.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Deki. How about you, Amna?
I think I'd start with saying that I'm glad that finally in the corporate space also the spotlight is shifting towards conversations around mental health. People are becoming more open and more aware. And more power to you, Ekta, and the entire Tava-Mitram team, all volunteers across, whoever is along with Tava-Mitram or anywhere else, working on mental health. And so I love poetry, and I will simply conclude in 4 lines of Padma Shri Nida Fazli's lines. And this has been my favorite since childhood. So it says, हर तरफ हर जगह बेशुमार आदमी, फिर भी तन्हाइयों का शिकार आदमी, रोज जीता हुआ रोज मरता हुआ, हर नए दिन नया इंतजार आदमी. So it says that there are so many people on this planet and still people are lonely. And that's irony. So I hope that we are all together someday and we break the stigma and there's togetherness everywhere. Thank you so much.
That was so powerful. Yeah. Very, very powerful and very realistic one. Thank you, Amna.
Right.
How about you, Bhanumathi?
Yeah, I would like to quote saying that be kind, because everyone you meet is fighting a battle which you do not know. So
True.
it's very important you don't look at them from your view, okay? Look at them from their view, what they're going through. So as much as possible, be kind to people. Like, I mean, compassion plays a very, very important role, not just during the pandemic, throughout, right? So when you compassionate, probably you can start thinking from their level and you can connect, and that will take care of most of your issues in the environment, is what I feel. And special thanks to Tava-Mitram team, Dr. Paras and Ekta, who have started this initiative. Okay, and I really request all the people to go through, take up the certification program, like my mental health, my priority. It has a lot of insights to it and a lot of awareness it brings in. With this, thanks for this opportunity, and thanks to all the panel members.
Thank you. Thank you so much once again, Bhanumathi. And Vinita?
Thank you all that you had what should say, summarize the entire discussion so beautifully, so enriched lines. And the one question or one solution, I would say, answer to one question is how we are going to do. So I will also take borrow African principle of greeting people by saying the Saibono, I see. So when you say I see, bring entire empathy, compassion, passionate, which you are having within yourself. So see the person as a whole, see the background, see the all emotions so that the person can get connected to you. And the moment we will start our mental health issues at individual level, at organization level will start dissolving. Then nobody will be alone in this earth because there is somebody to see you. So thank you very much, Dr. Paras, Ekta, to all panelists with such an insightful informations. And thank you and wish you happy life and healthy life ahead. Thank you. Good night.
Thank you. And
Thank you.
kindly, I would like to accept my sincere gratitude to all my panel members for their valuable time, extended valuable time, contributing your thoughts, your skills, your knowledge, your time, and helping Tava-Mitram to raise mental health awareness. We at Tava-Mitram highly value your contribution. As Bala is not there, I'll be just sharing a final statement to all of you. To all my audience who are watching, if you haven't signed up for My Mental Health, My Priority campaign, please register yourself on the link below and get the access to the free certification. Is the link out here? Or you can, if you would like to join us as a global Mitra volunteer today, please log into our website, that is www.tavamitram.org, and you can click the Join Us section. Or if you have any questions or any queries, please write to at info@tavamitram.org, or you can write an email directly to me at drparas@tavamitram.org. And we have a series of panel discussion this month, so please check the schedule on our website, which is www.tavamitram.org. And a very interesting news to share with all of you: we are going live on Monday with another unique topic, that is mental health for men. So kindly accept my personal invitation and join us on Monday at 8 p.m. IST, Indian Standard Time. For updates on this drive, please follow us on Facebook as well as on Insta handle on Tava-Mitram, and subscribe to our YouTube channel, that is Dr. Paras. On that note, I would like to say thank you everyone who have joined here. Have a lovely evening ahead, and thanks for inspiring people more and more. Good night.
Thank
Good
you.
night. Good night.
Thank you. Good night.